Welcome to Paradise, Hoops fans. I'm Justin Michael. I'm with my main man, Henry Chisholm. We are talking about the Paradise Jam, an 8-team tournament, down in the Virgin Islands. We are dressed for paradise, even though it is freezing. Paradise is a mindset, though, right, Hank? And I think that's what we're manifesting here. Good vibes, good basketball. It's going to be a really fun weekend, and I'm looking forward to going live with you throughout it all.
Oh yeah, I was pretty shocked today. It's been consistently like 70 degrees. Even though it's the middle of November, it's consistently been 70 degrees. I go outside dressed like this, and it's 30. It was terrible, but at least mentally, we are in paradise. We got some seltzers. I found somebody had some mango juice, so that's out here on the table. And basically for the next 4 or 5 days, we're just gonna have some good vibes here. We're going live today. We'll go live again probably Friday night, again on Sunday, and then the championship for Paradise Jam is on Monday. So we're just gonna be here hanging out through this whole tournament, and hopefully you guys will be hanging out with us.
I think the important thing to remember is unless you're tuned in live, which I hope you are, nobody in person other than our DNVR colleagues are being assaulted by my white thighs right now. They definitely should not be making an appearance in November. Yep. I'm breaking every fashion rule, but that's what you do for these weird early season tournaments. It's all about the quirkiness and the wackiness, and you just got to lean in.
Yeah, we've got that part covered. We've got that part covered for sure. This is going to be a lot of fun, though. I spent probably like 4 hours today just going through and reading about all these teams, everything that I could find. And you forget just how weird college basketball is. Like, there's one team that has like 10 of its top 12 scorers from last year gone. There's a really good team that's missing all its starters. There's like one team has like the National JUCO Player of the Year from last year. There's just a whole bunch of that weird stuff that happens. There's one team with 2 guys from the Netherlands, and it's going to be kind of fun just to run through all these teams and watch this tournament, hopefully make some money betting.
And you've got another team, that didn't even play last year. Brown, obviously, an Ivy League school. It's a really interesting field. I think there's a nice balance of talent, but also it's fairly level. Some of the times you get these tournaments and you look at it, it's like, oh man, chalk. Mm-hmm. None of these other teams have a chance. I think there's some upset potential here, and we're going to dive through all the teams, then we'll dive to the matchups, fill out a bracket, all that fun stuff. With that in mind, just briefly, if you're in the Mountain Time Zone, Friday we've got the first game of the day, CSU versus Bradley. That kicks off at 11 a.m. Then you've got Brown and Craighton at 1:15, Northeastern and Duquesne at 3:45, and then CU and Southern Illinois closing out the night at 6 p.m. Again, we'll be live Friday night. It's going to be a later show after the DNVR Nuggets post game. We're actually going to make an appearance on the DNVR Nuggets post game. Going to be a first time for me. Yeah, well, what do they say on the radio show? A long-time listener, first-time caller?
Yes.
Yeah, that's going to be me. Let's start to dive into some of these teams, though, and just kind of briefly set the scene with them, give their strengths, their weaknesses, all of that fun stuff. And our first team, I think it probably just makes sense to go in the order that they're playing in. Yeah. And let's start with Bradley, who Colorado State is taking on. They're 1-2, currently ranked 198th in KenPom. The thing that I like about Bradley, they've got multiple scoring options. They're not necessarily top heavy, and they're really physical. I think they can really challenge CSU in the paint here. That's where I'm going to be interested to kind of see how it matches up. The metrics actually say that they're not a great defensive team. Watching them, I was somewhat impressed with their defensive, acumen. So sometimes the numbers can be a little bit deceiving. Mm-hmm. What jumps out to you about this Bradley team, aside from Rick Mast, one of their 2 Polish players?
I think they're from the Netherlands.
Netherlands?
I think those guys are. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some other ones. There's a lot of different people from a lot of different places in this tournament. But yeah, I think that you're totally right on. I think that the defense probably is underrated, especially I think a tougher matchup for CSU, not necessarily meaning that they should beat CSU, but just because they're so long. And I think that that's the one thing when you look at CSU that at least I would be most concerned about. I'm not sure how you feel about that. But then offensively, I think that, they lost 3 of their top 4 scorers from last year, and you look at how the season's gone so far, there's 4 guys averaging 10 to 12 points. There's a couple right below them. That's just what's missing. They're just missing that 1 or 2 guys who can go out there and score a bunch of points. And that's holding them back, and that's why I don't think they're going to beat Colorado State.
Yeah, they're a little bit inconsistent offensively. They're physical. They've got some size that can kind of bang with you in the post, but they're not a great, jump shooting team. And, you're going up against CSU, and we can pull up their graphics here. They're one of the more efficient offenses in the entire country right now. 3-point shooting, field goal percentage, high-quality shots. They do it all. Ken Pom really loves the efficiency of CSU, and, anybody that's watched them, that's easy to see. I just love the offensive firepower that the Rams bring to the table. They do have guys like David Roddy and Isaiah Stevens, and they had John Tonje go for 30 in the opener that can, be that one man that you lean on that can go out and get you buckets at any given time. But they've got 6 dudes that you can count on to potentially go for 20 a night, and I don't see how Bradley keeps up with CSU offensively.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're looking for a reason to say Bradley's going to win, I know we've got some CU fans out there who are hoping Bradley's going to win this one. I think you can just say that last year was such chaos that it kind of maybe tanked Bradley a little bit. They'd won 20 plus games in 3 seasons in a row, went 12-16 last year. A few other guys got suspended. They had some bad injuries. There was an 18-day COVID gap where then they were just terrible the rest of the way after.
Tough. How do you judge a team? Because
exactly,
you're losing practices, you're losing valuable game reps, and then even on top of that, after you come back, it takes a week or two to kind of get back in rhythm. CSU, after their COVID pause last year, had a game against St. Mary's where neither team scored 60, and it was one of the most ugly basketball games I've seen. The Rams rattled off, I believe it was 11 straight wins after that. I'm glad you brought up the COVID pauses. We'll keep talking about this matchup a little bit, but let's keep the preview rolling and dive into Craighton. They're an interesting team. I think Craighton is one of those mid-majors that they're respected on a national level. The thing with this team is it's just so many new faces. It was really tough to kind of forecast coming in. They are 3-0, impressively. Ryan Nemhart here, freshman guard. This guy's a stud, man. He creates offense for his entire team. He's got in-the-gym type range. Craighton actually, surprisingly, has not been a great three-point team shooting this year, and some of it is just they put a lot of them up. And they haven't fallen yet. So are they actually a bad three-point shooting team, or just, have they not made them yet? And that win over Nebraska the other night, they got hot. What stands out to me is just their size. They've got really talented front court, a couple of different guys that I think, if CSU or CU goes up against them, could be a little bit challenging in the post. What jumped out to you about this Craighton team?
Just how much is different. You brought up Nemhart. I think that's a great player to emphasize in this matchup. He's one of 4 top 100 recruits in this class, I think. The number 8 recruiting class in the country. And they needed it. They lost all 5 starters. They lost everybody who'd scored at least 6 points per game last year. And again, it's just one of these programs in flux where so far, they're 3-0. They had a good win last night at Nebraska. It's a close game, though. And so where exactly are they? It's tough to say, but it's Craighton. They've won 20 games, 6 seasons in a row, 10 of the last 11, 21 of the last 23. They're going to be just fine. The question is whether they'll slip up because they're so young.
It's a good point. And, this matchup against Brown, deceptively, I think, maybe one of the tougher draws you could get. Brown, obviously, in the Ivy League. They're really tough. You don't have very much film to go off. They didn't play after last year. It was 300 plus days, close to 600 days in between their games. That's tough from a scouting standpoint. They were beating North Carolina in the second half of that game. Last week it was competitive. They've got talented guards. They can score. And the thing that I really liked about them, they were hanging with North Carolina, and they weren't doing anything gimmicky. It wasn't a bunch of weird zones or anything like that. They're playing man defense. They're aggressive. They're getting in the face. And we'll get into it a little bit more, but I would have our eyes for a potential upset in this one. I think everybody is going to be all in on Craighton because, they are the established brand. Like you said, they win 20 games a year. Early in the season, though, weird stuff could happen, and especially on a neutral court. Maybe upset potential.
Just to play devil's advocate on that one, Brown, yes, they were close to UNC. Again, North Carolina all last year, just overrated consistently. So far this year, obviously, you all that matters is winning the games. But it's a 7-point win over Brown, and then a couple days later, it's they gave up 83 points to the College of Charleston.
Charleston's good.
Really?
Charleston's sneaky. They just upset a D1 team yesterday too. So they've got sneaky potential. But again, if you're UNC, I get it. You can't beat you can't be sneaking past Charleston.
And they're gonna get they're 17th in the country or something because of the brand that they have. I don't know. I'll give Brown some points for that game, but I'm not gonna overweight it.
The thing with North Carolina, they're in the difficult position of having to follow up a legend, right? I mean, anytime you have one of the best coaches of all time leave you, it's going to put you in a weird position. We're kind of in wait and see mode, but the fact that Brown was able to go to their court, hang with them all game, and really just kind of didn't have the firepower to outlast them, it was significant to me.
And they didn't have their best player. They've been missing their best player, 6'5" forward, and I guess there's not much of a Brown basketball media community. I wasn't able to figure out whether he's going to be back, but he did miss the last 3 games.
I know, they kept talking about it on the broadcast. They're like, missing their best player. And it's like, okay, well, is he coming back? Is it serious? I tried to Google it. No press releases, no nothing.
Exactly.
They do have Keno Lilly Jr., though, and this dude's got in the gym type range. He had a couple of step backs on that North Carolina game where it's one of those where it's like, no. Oh, he cashed it with a hand in his face. I have no idea what he did. If he can get hot, I like Brown's chances to at least keep it close, but we'll keep it rolling. Like I said, we can talk about this more when we fill out our brackets later on in the show. God, I'm so cold in this swimsuit. All right, Northeastern playing Duquesne, and this game, Ken Palm actually thinks it's the closest matchup in terms of like its winning percentage. They have Northeastern with a 53% chance to win the game, 64-63 the projected score. Both of these teams are 1-2. Neither of them are very impressive. Neither of them have been very efficient. Let's just kind of, this is definitely like the most lackluster matchup there is, but let's talk about Northeastern first because they're a team that I have a little bit more confidence in, currently ranked 178th in Ken Palm. But I have a hard time like getting a read on these teams. I only watched them one time. I do like Chris Doherty. He's probably their best player, but I mean, does anything really stand out about either of these teams to you? I
mean, so Northeastern, the one win was against Boston University, 49-48. I think a score of 49-48 is always going to stand out. We're gonna see what happens. They're super versatile.
That's
all their players are like
CSU scored. Like if you took both those scores, that's less than CSU scored in their opener.
It's crazy. That is crazy. But yeah, they shoot more threes than anybody basically in the country. They chase guys off the 3-point line. They've got a bunch of those guys who are like 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". They can play whatever position you want. So they have a potential to get kind of long. I don't think they have any like actual big man to go along with that though.
No, but they are pretty good in the post though, even though like they're not necessarily the biggest team in the world. Yeah, they're skilled guys.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's a pretty veteran team. They're to me probably the worst team that's at Paradise Jam, but they shoot a lot of threes and who knows, maybe they go in.
That's the thing about both these teams, is just neither of them is efficient. Like Duquesne, Northeastern, they both put up a lot of shots. They're not necessarily the best quality looks. Yep. They're not necessarily going to fall, but they're going to put a lot of them up.
They sure are.
I definitely have a hard time predicting this one, but we'll see where we go with this one on the bracket. Let's talk about the other local team, though. Colorado, and then, I guess let's do Southern Illinois, and then we can kind of get into CU and move on to the bracket. But Southern Illinois, maybe a sneaky draw for the Buffs in terms of how tough this one could be. Ken Palm has them ranked 135th, which isn't phenomenal. Oh my God, I'm getting tongue-tied.
Yeah, you are.
But it's respectable. I'm just gonna move on. Just you can't do it. Just move on.
Yep. They play with 4 guards. They want to spread you out. Fairly positionless team. Kind of. I mean.
Really, that's the
similar
way college
to
basketball's
Northeastern,
going.
exactly,
and CSU.
Exactly.
I mean, what is Roddy? Is he a power forward? Is he a stretch 3? Is he a guard?
He just fixes whatever you need. Just put him right there. But yeah, I mean they have a point guard, Lance Jones. He's been solid. He's putting up 20 points a game so far. Also has 5 turnovers per game with 2.5 assists. So there's some struggles there too. They're a team that doesn't have a real big man. I think that against Colorado, that's a very long team. That would be something that I would look to if I'm Colorado and say this is why we think we win.
The thing about Lance Jones, and I'm glad that you brought up the turnovers. there's so much responsibility on him individually to create for that offense. I think some of it is a product of he just gets way more touches than everybody. His usage rate is through the roof. So it's one of those where it's like, yeah, he's turning it over a little bit too much, but he's also the only guy out there creating for his team.
Exactly. It's just a super thin roster more than anything. They just don't have a lot of depth. And at some point, that's going to get him. The other name worth knowing, I guess, Marcus Domask. Just a 6'6" do-it-all. He was like the conference freshman of the year. Missed a lot of last year with an injury, but he can shoot, he can pass, he can defend. And again, those are the players that can win you games in these sorts of tournaments.
One of the things that really stood out to me in Southern Illinois and kind of diving into the numbers, they don't create any turnovers on defense.
Huh.
They don't give themselves a lot of opportunities, which when you're a team that doesn't have a ton of size, I feel like just getting those steals and getting, transition opportunities and just the quick buckets where you don't give the other team a chance to set up in that half court, especially a team like CU who, they're going to have more length than you. Mm-hmm. I think that's a big factor. What stands out to you about CU? Obviously, you put that they do have length. That's one of their strengths.
Yeah.
Do you feel good about this matchup going in?
I do feel good about it. Again, just because I feel like there's a lot of ways they can go. Like, so we talked about the length. So what? They've got Evan Batty, who isn't all that long at center, but he's more of just like that rock kind of guy, 6'8", 6'9". And when you're going up against a team with Southern Illinois that doesn't have a 7-footer, you don't really worry about that aspect. But then from there on down, you've got Jabari Walker who can jump. You've got Tristan Da Silva, who's 6'10", playing the 3. There's going to be mismatches in this game. And it just comes down to taking advantage of him. And obviously, we highlighted Keyshawn Barthélemy here. That's because he's putting up over 20 points per game. He's doing it incredibly efficiently. I think he's 5 of 7 from 3 so far. And this is the tournament where you start to see, is this for real? Or is this because he's your point guard? And so you get the ball up the court. And the first thing he's going to look at is, can I score here? And when you're playing Montana State and you're playing New Mexico and you're playing Maine, the answer is yes. Southern Illinois, I think that the answer is still probably yes. You get to Creighton, CSU, those are the questions. Because for Colorado, as soon as this is over, they have a home game against Stanford, which is not a good basketball team, but then they're at UCLA, and then they've got Tennessee. So this is kind of, with the young team, is Keyshawn really that lead scorer who's going to draw that much attention? It's probably the first thing I'm looking at.
I think this is a big prove-it opportunity, really, for CSU and CU as a whole. I mean, I think there's probably... KenPom favors CU right now, but I think CSU, just because of what they did against Oral Roberts, they've kind of been in the national spotlight a little bit. I think that both of these teams are respected. I just kind of think it's an opportunity for them to prove themselves. And beyond that, you mentioned the schedule coming out of it. CSU, same way. They got UNC coming, who's deceptively, I think they're a tournament team. They're a really good offensive team. They added a ton of talent. Then they still got to play St. Mary's. They got to play Mississippi State and Alabama. Like, these schedules aren't getting easier for either of these local teams. And I think this is just a great opportunity in a competitive setting to try and kind of iron out some of the wrinkles. You played a couple of games early here. Now you get to experience that tournament setting, like a conference tournament where, you got to play 3 games in 4 days. How do you handle it? How do you work through it if the buckets aren't falling?
And for Colorado, you have to play outside of your own gym. Like 10, what was it? I think they have the 2 seniors. Everybody else is a freshman or sophomore. The sophomores traveled a little bit last year, but never with a crowd anywhere. The freshmen, obviously, this is their first time through. And when 10 of your 12 scholarship players have never played in front of a road crowd before, you're not really going to get that environment here, but at least you're playing in somebody else's gym, not shooting where you're used to be shooting. And so that's going to be a big test here too.
Well, when you're on national TV, how do you handle just the pressure of the moment? I know it's ESPN3. It's not like
national internet.
Hey, it's easily accessible, which with some of these tournaments, that's actually a problem. When it's like Flow Hoops or something like that. I don't want to have to pay $30 to watch 2 days worth of basketball.
Flow Hoops is the worst. Flow Hoops is the worst.
Bang, bang. Shots fired. Yeah. And we mean it. No apologies.
Nope.
Be better. I like that, it's an opportunity for games to be accessible that weren't otherwise on TV, but we're young. We're not paying for that type of stuff.
Exactly. Want to hit these power rankings?
Let's do it. We've already kind of dove into these teams a little bit, but this is just to kind of give you an idea of where we're at in terms of, power rankings are pretty self-explanatory. I don't need to explain power rankings. Sorry. Anyways, Hank, you go first. You brought it up. How do you want to do this? Do you just want to go 1 through 8?
Let's just go 1 through 8.
Okay.
So I've got Colorado number 1. I just think that they're so explosive. They've got so much talent. I think that the length plays their advantage, especially in this field. And I do think that they're the best team here. I've got Colorado State second. Again, just so explosive offensively. A veteran team. I think that's the kind of thing that honestly scares me the most when somebody plays Colorado, is just if they're experienced. From there, it's Craighton. A lot of question marks still, but you just know that it's Craighton. And the difference between a program like that and basically the rest of the field, I think that's where the drop-off is after number 3. From there, I've got Bradley. Honestly, you could make a lot of cases for a lot of these teams to be in whatever order.
I think 1 through 3 are fairly arguable, and then 4 through 6 as well. 7 and 8, I think,
I think
those
so
are the
too.
worst 2 teams in the tournament. I mean, one of them's probably going to win now that we've dogged on them this much, but
for sure. But yeah, Bradley, they just have such a weird year last year. I can just see the upside. They brought in the JUCO National Player of the Year. They at least have a little bit of juice there. Southern Illinois, I put them up next. We talked about them quite a bit, but just the switchability. They've got a veteran point guard. I like it. Then they've got some young talent too. But then you get to number 6, Northeastern, and things really.
that's Brown. But
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is Brown right there. Okay, cool. Number 6, Brown. Again, they're missing their best player, so that takes them out of the conversation for a couple of spots ahead. And honestly, the difference between 7 and 8 and Brown to me was just that they had that game against North Carolina. Don't want to put too much stock into it, but I mean, it's either that or the 49-48 win over Boston University for Northeastern. Northeastern did come in 7th there. Again, these bottom 2 teams just can't really compete. It will be kind of a fun matchup, though, just because Northeastern is all about shooting the 3 and not letting other teams shoot 3s. Meanwhile, Duquesne shoots fewer 3s than just about anybody. And so, are they just going to be cool with that? It'll still be fun. It'll be a close game, but they are at the bottom.
mine are similar. Or our home team allegiance is showing here, but I mean, I think there's a logical argument for any of these teams in the top 3 as the top spot. So come at us. I can justify these takes, but I've got CSU at 1 in my power rankings. And, I think part of it is they are the most experienced team in this tournament. They're coming off of an NIT semifinals appearance. I like that experience, especially in a setting where you've got to play a couple of games. It's short turnarounds. I don't see the emotion getting the most of CSU at any point. And just the offensive firepower, I think with the ability to get hot at any moment, outside of Craighton, I have a hard time seeing any of these teams really keeping up with CSU on the offensive end. We can kind of debate that with CU. I've got Creighton second only because I think Nemhard might be one of the, if he's not the best, one of the top 2 or 3 players in this whole tournament. That barely gave him the edge for me over CU. I do like CU's length. I think they could make it interesting for a lot of teams. I'm higher on Brown if you can't tell at this point. I just think their ability to knock down 3s. I like their experience. I think they play smart basketball, and I think they're well coached. I got them at 4, just ahead of Bradley. Bradley's a hard team for me to gauge just based on the numbers versus what I see that when I watch them don't really add up. So I got them at 5. I really think 4 or 5 are fairly flippable. Southern Illinois at 6. And then again, we've got the same teams rounding out our power rankings. I've got Northeastern 7th and Duquesne 8th. We're just begging for one of those Duquesne or Northeastern teams to get hot at the right moment.
I know.
Based on everything I've seen, I'm gonna have to see it before I believe it. I just don't believe in those teams. This is where I'm at. Because of this, I've got CSU first. You've got CU first. Logic would say we both assume that both of these teams are going to reach the finals. So let's fill out these brackets. Let's see kind of how this is going to shape up.
Yeah, this will be fun. I guess we should probably start at the top here, and I can do my bracket first. But that first game, Bradley CSU, again, I do think that there's some upset potential here, but you just can't be picking Bradley in this matchup just because of the talent differential, the experience, all that kind of stuff. Length might cause some problems. The rebounding might cause some problems. Not enough problems. I've got CSU moving on. And then we get to Craighton. Again, Creighton is just too much better. They're so explosive, and I absolutely could see them falling apart. Nemhard's really good. Also a freshman. He's also never. I don't know if has he played a road game yet. Potentially.
No. Well, I don't remember where the Nebraska game was. If that was
that was on
site
the road.
or not.
That was on the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he has, but yeah, it's still just kind of unpredictable. I'm still gonna take Creighton, and I'm gonna go Duquesne here. It was a tough one, but.
Duquesne.
Northeastern, again, like I said, they shoot a lot of threes. It's what they're all about. You're in the islands. Things are going to be different. I don't know what this gym is like, but I have a feeling it's going to be very different than any other gyms that you see.
So I'm glad you actually brought that up, because I've talked to some people that have played in this, and they've said it's a very shooters friendly. There's not any weird light or anything like that. It's good sight lines and potentially, some offensive games. Hopefully, nobody wants a 49-48 Boston game.
Looking at you, Northeastern. I'm going Duquesne, even though just because I don't think they're going to be able to score all that much.
And it's more fun to say.
It is. It is more fun to say.
Of all the directional schools, I'd say Northeastern is the most irrelevant. I guess I only know. Is there a
Southwestern?
There's a Southern University. I don't. Are they all amongst the same thing? Is Northeastern connected to Northwestern? Are they a part of the same?
I don't think they are. I think they do have some similarities, though.
I don't know. Do they? I don't know.
Are they both? They might. No, they're not religious schools. I think there's
private schools,
private schools. Yeah. And then I'm gonna go Colorado here at the bottom. In the next round, CSU Creighton is going to be a lot of fun.
It's unfortunate that. Well, I guess in an 8-team field, you're gonna have to beat a good team fairly early. But
yeah, I definitely prefer CU's side of the bracket.
Yeah, that's all I'll say.
CSU's, yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna go Colorado State here again, just because they have the experience. I think that's gonna be easier for them to make something happen. So they're gonna move along. Note one to the left there, yeah, here. Yep. And then I'm going to say CU beats Duquesne. Again, you just love the way this side of the bracket shapes up.
Whoever advances out of that one. I think Southern Illinois would worry me as a CU fan significantly more than Northeastern or Duquesne would.
For sure. Absolutely. And then here, again, this is what we've all been hoping for, right? This is why they're not playing this season, is because it could happen right here.
That's one explanation.
Hopefully it does. Hopefully it does happen. That's what we're hoping for. That's why we're doing this show, is because hopefully on Monday.
No, it's true. I certainly hope it comes together. I will say these two teams should be playing locally every year on the hoop side. There's no football argument where there's less value for CU in this matchup.
So you would have them potentially play here and have another game scheduled?
Because it's not guaranteed.
It is true. It's not guaranteed. Yeah, it's just such a tough situation.
I get it. I understand the logic of not wanting to play it twice, especially... and again, I'm not saying CU's running from CSU per se, but you're looking at this roster, a top 25 team.
This is the year CSU would want to play them.
Would we really want to play them twice? Probably not. Based on everything I've been told from the CSU side, they did want to play in the regular season.
Oh, I'm sure. This is the year CSU would want them.
Yeah.
This is them at their peak. These are a bunch of veteran players.
No, exactly.
Kind of like CU was last year.
Yeah, it's programs in different positions, so I'm not, I'm not trying to take shots. I get the logic. If I'm Tad Boyle, am I do I want to play CSU twice? No.
Yep. I do think I do have Colorado winning this one, though. I just think the rebounding, they've been blowing teams out on the boards. And again, they're not playing teams as good as Colorado State is, but when you're out rebound a team by 30 points, it's tough to say
it's significant.
It's tough, and then
it's tough to lose if you out rebound a team that many times.
Exactly. And Tad said after the game, you're not going to have this happen all the time. We just need this effort, and we'll be just fine. And I do think that length is just going to make it tough enough for CSU offensively. I think they're explosive enough that CU can take them off there, and then I think that the rebounding kind of swings things just because they do have that length.
I like it. I think your logic makes sense. I like the CSU floating over my head. I am CSU. My bracket's going to be very similar. It's going to be a different outcome. Shocker. But pretty similarly, I've got CSU beating Bradley in the first round. I also have CU beating Southern Illinois. I also have Creighton beating Brown, although I am, that one makes me nervous. If there is an upset, I think that's the best opportunity. I'm going Northeastern over Duquesne. It's not that I'm, overly confident in them or anything like that. But
you got to fill out the bracket.
Someone has to win that game. There can't be a tie, unlike the NFL. Man, this CSU Creighton matchup is going to be really interesting because this is going to be by far the hardest game that CSU will have played, assuming they're able to assuming they're able to get through Bradley. Don't want to, write these checks too early here.
It's dangerous.
But I like the Rams in it. I like their experience. I think they've been kind of building towards this moment for 3 years now in terms of just each year they've gotten a little bit better. You go down, you play at Duke, you win a game at Viejas. It's just, this has been the upward trajectory, and we're finally kind of reaching that point where the expectations and the results are going to align. So I'm going with CSU to pick up the biggest win. I don't know, that upset over San Diego State was pretty big, but I'll call it at least now the biggest win of the Nico Medved era over Creighton. I got CU beating Northeastern. They're more talented. I don't care that they're, less experienced. It's just sometimes being a better basketball player is all that matters, and CU's got more of them. I'm going with the Rams in the championship. I can't take CU against them. I like the experience. I think the Rams want it bad. I think they're
more probably. They've been in the rivalry.
Exactly. I just, I think they understand it. And in 2019, CSU got embarrassed in that game. It was in Fort Collins. It was at Moby Arena. Until the Oral Roberts opener this year, that was like the only really electric crowd that CSU had under Nico Medved. Obviously, coming out of the U Stacy era, there just wasn't a lot of excitement. They did get a couple of decent crowds at conference play, but CU, they came out and they punched him in the mouth. I think, Roddy Stevens, Thistlewood, Moore, Tanjay, Thomas, all those guys were in that game. All of them remember.
Yep.
All of them are annoyed that they're not playing this year. And I know. It's just how it works out with the local team. We've got a comment from Eric Weedham. So this is crazy. Justin thinks CSU will win. Hank thinks CU will win. We were joking about this before.
That's why we're here.
Oh, yeah.
Because hopefully they're both in the championship. Sunday night we'll be talking all about
realistic, right? This isn't like a situation where we're filling out our March Madness bracket and we're like, well, if CSU pulls the crazy upset here and then CU survives this, then maybe they get together in Sweet 16.
Yep.
I think we should expect both of these teams to reach the championship, and that's with all due respect to Creighton. I just think CSU's better.
And I think we only filled out the winner's side of the bracket because who cares about losers?
Yeah, there would have been a lot more disparity probably on the other side.
And so just the way it works, though, every team will play 3 games, and so you wind up with a first-place game, third place, fifth place, and seventh place. And so even if things don't work out that way, if there's like a doomsday scenario, they could still hit each other. And regardless, there's going to be plenty of basketball to watch for the next 4 or 5 days.
Oh, man. We're really opening ourselves up with the Homer criticisms here, but I genuinely am like, these are the best teams.
I'm trusting Ken Pom.
Call Ken Pom a Homer, not us.
Yeah.
He's from Utah, too, so he's got no reason to favor either of these teams.
Plus, what are you going to say about Brown and Bradley? And
they're
just not that kind of team.
I mean, I know they're an Ivy League school, so it's me, a CSU graduate, taking shots at Brown, but it's Brown.
It's Brown. Exactly. Brown. Doesn't sound great. Let's see. What do we have up next year?
Just like anything else we want to hit on these teams, really. I mean, we're just kind of, setting the scene for Ken Pom, a YO grad. So again,
really?
Maybe favor CU a little bit higher.
Maybe.
Yeah, we do have our goals to dive into. Shout out to our main man Yahir, keeping us on schedule.
Oh yeah.
This is the problem when Henry and I do content together, is we're just bros. So like, once we get sidetracked, it's going to end up down a massive hole. Dre has to deal with this on the NFL Draft podcast every week, where he's just like, for the love of God, Justin and Hank, stay focused.
I was thinking about putting CSU like number 6 in my power rankings.
Just to troll?
Just to make you mad. Just to see what would happen.
I was just like, got up and walked off stage, flipped the DNVR. Yeah,
we'll get there. There's a lot that we're going to be building on over the next few days.
No, but I think if you want to call us homers for saying CSU and CU should win this respectively, you also have to make the nod of the integrity with predicting the other team, the rival, to also make the championship. We're showing, credit where it's due. Real recognizes real. Both of these teams are good. Both of these teams should have a really good chance to make the...
And so is Craighton, which is just hilarious.
Creighton's really good too. They're just sandwiched in between. We don't have a lot of Nebraskans listening. If you are, our apologies. I like Creighton. They're one of the mid-majors I root for. Somewhere in middle America, quoting my main man, John Rothstein. Creighton, nice little powerhouse.
It is John Rothstein season, isn't it?
We sleep in May, baby.
We should hit these goals.
Let's get these goals. What are your goals for CU in this tournament?
So first one, you just got to stay hot from deep. This is so far, I mean, it's early. It's been 3 games, but it is very easily the best 3-point shooting team in the Pac-12. They're at like 46%. Nobody else is at 41%.
What volume is that at, though? Like,
actually, it went way down in the last game. I think they were like 7 of 14. I think they might have been 7 of 12 in the last game.
See,
before that, they were shooting more.
I'm okay with like that. That shows you're taking quality shots. You're not just letting it, rain from 3 all day. You're taking them when they're open. You're taking them when they're in rhythm.
Yeah, and Evan Batty hasn't missed yet. Keyshawn Bartholomew, I think, is 5 of 7, and he's looking incredible. You just gotta keep it going, because again, this is 3 games. And in 3 games, you can't be saying anything about what a team is good at just because it is such a small sample size, and maybe shooting less so than some other stats, but it is true that they didn't play the toughest competition those first few games.
Are you worried about that at all, that they haven't been battle tested by any like legitimate talent at this point?
I mean, it definitely makes things tougher because you now have to play better teams starting this week, but also we knew the circumstances for this team, and if I'm building the schedule, like I was talking with some of the other Buffs reporters, that main game, that's a bottom 20 Division I team according to Ken Palm. You schedule that game right before Paradise Jam, so that regardless of what happens in those first 2 games, you're coming off a 40-point win. And that's what they did. And I think that is where you want those games. Build through this, and then you have a couple of conference games, and you got Tennessee, and then you get Eastern Washington. You get another easy one before Kansas comes to town.
It reminds me of the quote from Adam Sandler in The Longest Yard, where he's like, you schedule some cupcake, beat the living shit out of them, get your confidence up. That's what the Buffs did by beating Maine at home and kind of rebounding after, I mean, I don't want to say shaky. Well, I mean, Montana State kind of taking them to the wire, but you survived it, right? You didn't lose at home, and then, emergency avoided.
Yeah. I'm not too concerned about these things right now. Just that 3-point shooting. Can it keep up? And as soon as, I don't know when you say, okay, this is for real, but if they do it for 3 more games against these teams at Paradise Jam, I say, yeah, this probably is one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the conference. Second goal was
win the battle for the boards.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They've been winning the rebounding battle every game pretty significantly. And
you have the length, like really for this, it's just, if you're not, it's probably coming down to effort.
Well, and they had their backup point guard, KJ Simpson, a freshman, put up 8 rebounds against New Mexico.
That's great.
So they've got those guys. Dominique Clifford off the bench is tearing up the glass. And so you just have all these guys who can go get the ball, and now they're doing it. Again, these are just the things that we've seen so far, and so you just want to continue. And we'll wrap up. Make your free throws. The free throw shooting is come and gone, but they've shot a lot of free throws so far this season. I think at one point in that last game, they were 8 of 15 from the free throw line.
Eesh.
Just a waste.
And they were a historically great free throw shooting team last year. I mean, CSU and CU both were, but
they were. And then they went on to make, like, I think they finished with 23 makes, and they'd missed one more, a walk-on missed 2 at the end to kind of botch the stat again. But yeah, you just, again, there's a little question mark right there. You want to see things get just nice and sharp there, because you do draw a lot of fouls. Jabari Walker draws a lot of fouls. Evan Batty draws a lot of fouls. Can also take some fouls. Tristan Da Silva, 6'10", playing the 3, draws some fouls. Gotta be able to convert when that happens.
Take advantage. That's interesting though, that they're shooting threes at a high rate and also drawing a lot of fouls. I mean, that's a positive indication of their offensive potential.
There's a lot of good things that are happening. There's definitely a lot of good things that are happening.
There's a lot of CSU fans hearing you ramble off some of these names and just thinking, what if, Dominique Clifford, Lawson Lovering, those were both big CSU targets, both
really
quote
good
unquote potentially
players.
Considered CSU highly. It's, who knows, recruiting's a wonky thing, but I think it's fun when you have some of those local guys that are both heavily recruited. It makes these type of matchups intriguing. If you're the CSU staff, you're thinking like, well, we want to show you,
For sure. And I guess last note, I'll throw this out there. The Buffs have shot 100 free throws through 3 games.
Yeah, you're going to win a lot if you keep that up.
You are. And you won't, because
if you
don't have this advantage.
You knock them down.
There is that part too. But you got to be able to convert. Just convert. Score your points. They're free.
They are free after all.
They are free.
All right, let's get into CSU's strengths, which, there's a lot of different ones. It's just a very experienced roster, but these are just kind of my goals. And I want to see them shoot 40% as a team from three-point range in this one. They have a lot of good shooters. They're certainly capable of it. They actually have not been putting up a high volume of three-point shots. A lot of their production has been coming in the paint, and that's good because CSU, they have the guys to beat you from three. Last year, at times, they couldn't really score in the paint. This year, I think that's been a real big point of emphasis. I just want them to be shooting high-quality threes. I don't care if they necessarily are hitting 15 of them a game. You can go 6 of 12 one game. It is what it is. As long as you're creating high-quality opportunities, shoot 40% from three, the offense is going to be doing good. Defensively, it's been the big question mark coming into this year is, can the Rams take it to the next level? Can they be a top 50 team defensively in terms of efficiency? They flirted with it at moments last year under Medved, but they lack the consistency. So far this year, they have been really great on defense, and it's really made an impact. I think if you hold your opponents to 75 or fewer points in every game you play, you are going to win because I just don't see CSU scoring less than that.
Yep.
I mean, you never know. Maybe you get in a defensive battle or something like that against a team like Craighton. But if you hold Craighton to 75 or fewer, you're going to have a great chance to win that game. Again, don't want to discount Bradley, but, we're feeling confident, and so I'm going to approach this as such. Lastly, average less than 10 turnovers per game. They have veterans. They're experienced in the system. There's no excuses for CSU to be turning the ball over, to be playing sloppy. They looked a little bit lethargic on Sunday. They're playing an NAIA team. I get it. Peru State isn't exactly Max Asmus and Oral Roberts. I just want to see them come out with an attention to detail, and I do think this is a tournament that CSU feels very confidently going in, but I want to see, does the efficiency, does the production, does it line up with that confidence, or do we see them come out and, I don't know, play on their heels a little bit, or, sometimes the moment could get too big. I don't expect it for this veteran roster, but just play efficiently, and you should be fine in this tournament.
Definitely.
All right, man. It's going to be fun. Like I said, we will be back Friday night after the DNVR Nuggets postgame, directly after. So if you're a Nuggets fan, just stay on the YouTube channel. We got our main man, Eric Weedham, commenting the Colorado Container, which is a fictional trophy.
He really
now
wants it
award.
to be real.
Can we get a Colorado Container designed by DNVR that me and you pass back and forth?
I'm down. I could pass that back and forth. Well, I mean, if I ever needed to pass it.
Oh, shots fired. I can't wait to beat the bus. Anyways, I'm Justin Michael. My main man, Henry Chisholm, will be back Friday night, Sunday, and hopefully Monday previewing a championship as well. It's going to be a blast. This is Paradise, the Paradise Jam. It's going to be a blast. Really looking forward to it. Hank, cheers, my friend.
Cheers.